An experienced speaker, certified NeuroLeadership Coach, and business strategist who has worked with small businesses for over 15 years. As someone who knows firsthand what it's like to struggle to build a sustainable business, her mission is to act as your trusted guide so that you can create the right schedules, marketing strategies, processes, and systems to scale your dream business. As a result, her clients are able to step away from having to do everything themselves and devote more time to the things they love. In today's talk, Claire will share the 3 pillars of business success. After spending years working within small businesses and art organizations and seeing their leaders struggle to build sustainable, scalable businesses, Claire embarked on a deep dive into what it took to grow a business without burning out. She devoured any business and wellness resource she could find until she identified a variety of research-backed themes that were consistent across the board, themes that could be applied to most small businesses and art organizations systematically and strategically. In this vein, she created her 3 pillars of business success and devoted herself to teaching these frameworks to as many business leaders as possible. Sustainable schedules, marketing strategies, and processes and systems. Join me in welcoming Claire Jones to share with us today, as I also remind her to please start your speaker timer. Welcome, Claire.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to get my screen up on there we go. So hello, my name is Claire Jones, and I offer systemized solutions to small business leaders so that they can grow and scale their businesses without burning out. I'm here to talk today about my top 3 pillars of business success, and I'm so happy to be here with you all. But first, I want to take a moment to thank my gracious host, Cindy, and the lovely Seattle chapter, or Pacific Northwest chapter now that we're virtual, of Exceptional Connections. What a great organization. Am I right? All right, great. So I'm going to start my timer. So if I talk quickly, just keep pace. All right. So to give you a little bit of background on myself, from age 15 onward, I've always worked in small businesses and arts organizations that were under 50 staff members total. So I've seen firsthand what challenges these businesses can run into. I've seen both how they can struggle and how they can succeed in their businesses and their lives. I even started my first business back in 2014, a general store devoted to local goods in West Seattle. And the information that I'm presenting to you today is the kind of stuff I wish I had had back then. Back then, I had found myself working 60 hours a week in a white box by myself, surrounded by inventory I couldn't sell. And it was a really depressing place to be in. I was living by myself, eating rice and beans for dinner, feeling burnt out and exhausted and depressed. So after coming out of this, I realized that there were structures that I could put in place, systems that would help me streamline my time and be more efficient, be more effective, and be more productive, and actually happier overall. So in this vein, I've created my 3 pillars of business success, and I'd like to share them with you today so that you too can free up your time and actually enjoy this business you're building, because that's the whole point, right? So when it comes to sustainable schedules, why are they important? Because you can't burn the candle at both ends, and you need to make sure that your personal sustainability supports your business's sustainability, because you can't pour from an empty cup. Why are marketing strategies important? Because you need to go strategically after marketing opportunities that will help you reach your ideal audiences, and do it with intentional forethought instead of impulsive reaction. You need to do this instead of scattershooting your approach, because so many small business leaders try a ton of different avenues in so many different ways, and they're not really focusing their marketing efforts to get quality ROI from their efforts and time spent. So why are systems and processes important? Because you need to streamline your day-to-day routines and day-to-day tools so that everything flows easily, like a well-oiled machine, instead of having to reinvent the wheel each and every day. So I'm really excited to be talking to you guys about these systems today, because I truly believe they are vital to business success, especially in today's COVID-19 world. So first, I'm going to talk about sustainable schedules. What I'm talking about here are things like self-awareness. I'm talking about self-regulation. I'm talking about delegation, mental productivity, mindset, wellness and burnout, and time management. So basically, how do you manage your time, and how do you make sure that your schedule is sustainable so that you're not burning out? I know what it's like to burn out in your business. You are running, you are hustling, you are trying to go in so many different directions all at once. And you really need to be strategic about your time, because you're not going to be able to bring your full self to your business and bring your full self to your passion if you're burning out. You want to build a business around a passion of yours, around a zone of genius. And what you really don't want to do is deplete yourself, so then you can't even show up fully. So I personally experienced this in my first business. My schedule was not strategic, and I was exhausted and frustrated and stressed all the time. But I learned systems and tools like the Healthy Mind Platter that really helped. And the Healthy Mind Platter is a great framework that was developed by the NeuroLeadership Institute. And they have identified 7 areas of your life that should be balanced and prioritized in order to have optimal brain functioning. So they created it by looking at the brain through fMRI machines, doing a bunch of psychological studies and other scientific studies. And they found that there's 7 areas that you need to prioritize in your life in order to have optimal brain functioning. So those areas are social needs, which means connecting time and playtime, physical needs, which means physical time and sleep time, and cognitive needs, which means downtime, time in, and focus time. And you need to prioritize each of those 7 areas in your life to make sure that you're showing up as your best self in your business. That's how you can create a sustainable schedule. So when it comes to social needs, connecting time and playtime, how do you prioritize time throughout the week to connect with others? How do you support yourself through your social connections? And when it comes to playtime, do you actually schedule time to have fun, to play around? And it's very easy to combine these two too. So if you want to combine connecting time and playtime, schedule a board game night with your friends. Or you can even bring in physical time and do a pickup game of soccer with your friends if it's low-key, fun, and focused on the playful aspects. You don't actually need to schedule separate time for each of these different areas during the week. You can combine them to make your time more efficient, and then you're hitting all of those boxes, but not burning yourself out in the process, which we're trying to avoid here. So when it comes to physical needs, physical time and sleep time, you need exercise for optimal brain function, full stop. When you exercise, the brain creates this great chemical called BDNF, and it's basically Miracle-Gro for the brain. They've done tons of studies showing how, after you exercise, you are better able to learn things, retain things, and have long-term memory retention. You have better performance, you have better engagement throughout the day, all because your brain is producing this great chemical. So physical time is super important. Sleep time is also super important because it's your time to rest. It's your body's chance to restore all the things that were depleted throughout the day. So it's homeostatic regulation, it's immune system regulation, it's even emotion regulation. So if you don't get sleep, studies have shown that sleep deprivation is even more dangerous than going without food, because you can go without food and water for a couple days relatively okay, but you cannot go without sleep. It's just increasingly vital to prioritize. And when it comes to cognitive needs, downtime, time in, and focus time, you have to have some downtime prioritized in your day-to-day routines. Downtime means letting your mind wander in no particular direction and letting it integrate all of those differentiated parts in your brain. You need the space and time to let your mind wander. Let it connect all of those things that haven't been connected before. Time in, on the other hand, is intentional, internal self-reflection. So this can be meditation or prayer, but it's anything that causes you to take a moment and check in with yourself. How do you check in with your inner self on a day-to-day basis? Because you're going to make better decisions going forward if you are able to recognize what your inner processes are, what feelings are coming up as you're doing particular tasks, what thoughts and opinions are coming up as you're doing particular tasks. Are you feeling hungry? You know, a lot of people don't notice hunger when they're working really hard, and then they end up getting angry and they make bad decisions because they're hungry and frustrated, when all they really need to do is eat because they weren't realizing they were hungry in the first place. So how aware are you of your internal processes, feelings, sensations, and thoughts? And then when it comes to focus time, I mean, we all know the importance of focus time. Our Western society has a myopic focus on focus time, and everyone tries to be as focused as possible throughout the day. But the brain can only concentrate on one task for 20 minutes at a time. That's why a lot of people use timers that go off every 20 minutes. then they have a 5-minute break and they get back to work. That's one way to give yourself focus time during that 20 minutes, and then give yourself a break so that your mind doesn't wander during the actual focus time. So those are the 7 areas of the Healthy Mind Platter that you can capitalize on and prioritize to make sure that your schedule is sustainable. That's number 1 when it comes to systems that business leaders need to set up for success. Number 2 is marketing strategies. So how are you intentionally focusing your efforts when it comes to marketing strategies? Are you taking a scattershot approach? Are you trying too many things so that the quantity is overrunning the quality of your marketing efforts? So I'm talking about Google services, I'm talking about social media profiles, I'm talking about branding, customer engagement, website development. Basically, how are you focusing your efforts and your time by focusing on your target market? So for example, the experts say that when it comes to social media profiles, if your target demographic has people over 30, you're going to be better off on Facebook. But if your target demographic is under 30, you're going to be better off on Instagram. Or if you're a business to business kind of company where you work more with small business owners or corporations, LinkedIn is probably going to be your best bet. Or if you're helping more of the elderly market and offering senior care services or stuff like that, you might even want to consider doing snail mail as your primary marketing effort, because a lot of them aren't on Facebook. A lot of them aren't on Instagram. So how are you hitting your target demographics? Do you even know who your target demographics are? Have you created your ideal customer avatar? And how can you reach them with intentional forethought instead of impulse? Because there is this concept called shiny object syndrome. And I see a lot of business leaders fall into this trap. It's when you go after any shiny object, any shiny idea that you come up with, and then you have a scattered approach and you never actually get much done. You feel like you're being productive because you're completing tons of tasks day in and day out, but again, you're at quantity over quality. And what we want to focus on is a higher quality of marketing engagement, a higher quality of customer engagement, and how can you actually save time but get better results? And it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be a huge time suck or money suck. At the end of the day, it's just being strategic and being intentional with your efforts when it comes to marketing. Especially when it comes to marketing, you need to realize how many people are you building relationships with every day? How many touch points do you need to make with them so that you can stay in contact with them and nurture those relationships? Because it's not a sales funnel, it's a trust funnel. You have to make sure that people know, like, and trust you. You need to make sure that you remain on their radar and remain in their worldview. So how many times do you give them the chance to know, like, and trust you? So for example, social media is not really for pitching. Social media is for creating content that educates, content that builds familiarity, positions you as an expert in your field, and brings value to your audience, because people are getting sick of pitching. They know when you're pitching to them, you know when you're pitching to them, and it all starts to feel a little sleazy at the end of the day. So how are you creating value for them instead? That's going to bring people back to you time after time. So how can you use social media or marketing in general to create value for your audiences? And how can you do it strategically and intentionally so that you can build up multiple touch points with them over time? So that's marketing strategies. And then number 3 is overall business processes and systems. So how are you structuring your day-to-day routines and tools so that you are being efficient with your time? A system is basically just a set of principles or procedures by which something is done. And so it doesn't have to be too complicated. You just have to know the procedure by which something is consistently done. Then you're not reinventing the wheel each and every day, and you're not wondering what you should do next or what the next step is, because that wastes a lot of time and it adds up. So I'm talking about things about financial processes and systems. I'm talking about workflows. I'm talking about operations manuals, leadership. Leadership is definitely a system. Leadership is just a procedure by which you lead. How can you incorporate a leadership system into your day-to-day routines so that leadership is not something that you need to troubleshoot or a fire that you need to put out on a day-to-day basis, but something that you just consistently do? So how do you systematically motivate your employees? Leadership can totally be a system. Making decisions can totally be a system. What is the procedure by which you make decisions? Are they based on feelings? Are they based on facts? Do you make pros and cons lists? What is the procedure that you go through in order to make a decision? Employee engagement and management, like leadership, is also a system. How do you systematically and procedurally motivate and manage your employees? And then business relationships can also be a system. So how do you systematically track those relationships that you're building on a day-to-day basis? So you could use things like CRMs, for example. There's a bunch of great customer relationship management softwares out there that will track all of your emails, all of your social media engagements, all of your calls. Some will even track your texts so that you have a database of all your contacts, your networks, your customers, and it will track how many times you've contacted them, when you contacted them, what you contacted them about, so on and so forth. So you can manage your relationships systematically. And you can be like, all right, so I spoke to John 3 months ago, so I need to circle back around with him soon and see how his kids are doing. Because you can even make notes in the CRM about kids' names, kids' birthdays, wife's birthdays, all kinds of different stuff so that you can systematically track your relationship with them. That's a way to streamline your time, because once you get to a certain point in having a lot of relationships in your business, you can't keep all of that information in your head. And some things are going to fall through the cracks. So how can you systematically build those relationships in a way that creates value for them? Because it makes them feel special when you're able to remember their kids' names or their dogs' names or their wedding anniversary or whatever details are important to them. So how can you systematically build those relationships, and how can you do it on a day-to-day basis so that you're not reinventing the wheel? These are the types of systems and processes that I'm talking about. Or it could be a social media content calendar. So how do you plan out your social media content in advance? How do you plan out what you're going to post, when you're going to post it? Or you can use different tools like JotForm. JotForm is a totally great tool where you can create all kinds of different forms, and you can do everything from contracts to order forms, all kinds of different stuff, because it integrates with a lot of different softwares and applications. You can integrate it with Square, Google Drive, Calendly, with a lot of different things. Then you're not reinventing the wheel each time you send someone that form, and it will hold all of those form responses for you and send you a submission response by email, if you want, each time you get a submission. There's even an application called Airtable that combines your CRM and forms into one, so that if a potential customer fills out an informational form for you, their form submissions will automatically show up in the CRM. This saves so much time in the long run. Flexible time blocking is another system that I personally love, because if I know that a task is going to take me an hour and a half, I will block out that time in my schedule for that task, and then I can move that block around if I need to. So if I need to schedule an appointment during that time, or there's a more time-sensitive task that I need to get done before that other task, then I can move it around so that I always have time on my calendar for it. And I always end up getting to that particular task eventually. So things don't fall through the cracks for me, but it's flexible enough that I can move it around if I need to. That's how I keep track of my time on a day-to-day basis. And then things like cash flow reporting spreadsheets are also a great way to systemize how you predict your cash flow into the future, so that you can know what to expect when it comes to income and expenses and how they interact. It's about being able to predict what your finances are going to be in 6 months from now in your business. QuickBooks is a great tool to coordinate with that. So there are tons of different business processes and different systems and tools and strategies that you can use to streamline your time on a day-to-day basis. So that is a quick overview of the 3 areas of systems that help people grow their businesses without burning out, one of which is sustainable schedules, 2 marketing strategies, and 3 overall processes and systems. So how can you streamline your time, make yourself more efficient, and make yourself more productive by focusing on those 3 systems? That's what I wanted to talk to you guys about today. I hope I gave you some great ideas. I'm really excited to do this. I mean, I love small business owners. I love helping people in the community because, I mean, go after your dreams. You're all badass, you're all hustling, and I just love helping people like you. So I hope you enjoyed it. There is some homework if you guys are interested. Just consider the following questions and let me know what you come up with. How do you currently approach sustainable schedules, marketing strategies, or processes and systems? Where are there gaps in your business? Where is there room for improvement? Consider those and just let me know. My email is at the bottom of the slide there. Also, please look over my handout for more information about this talk and my offerings. There is an ECN discount included on the second page, so let me know if you're interested. That's it. Love you all. Take care.
All right. Thank you so much, Claire. Great talk. Oh my goodness. Lots of information, great action packed talk. And so I'm going to go ahead